This is footage of me walking around the map array from the original Call of Duty Black Ops. It's just me here. No other players or bots in the game. This is something I would do all the time as a kid, not just in Black Ops 1, but in every shooter game I owned that let me do this. I always found it so fascinating to explore the map, in and outside of live matches and during campaign missions. There was something just so surreal about it. And now that I'm older, having played tons of shooters from then up until now, I know why. And it all comes down to the map design. I'm just gonna get right to the point. The maps in Call of Duty, starting with Black Ops 2 and from Black Ops 3 onward, suck. They are far less developed than the ones I grew up with. There's so much less area depth and density in these maps than the ones before Black Ops 2. Old COD maps were masterfully crafted with ins and outs, ups and downs, flanking routes, under and over lanes, well-balanced spawn points, and sightlines. New COD maps are 3 straight lines with an alley or 2 connecting the lanes, and that's it. Now, both of these utilize the 3-lane map design philosophy, but in very different ways. Now, before I go any further, I gotta cover what the 3-lane map design method is, because all Call of Duty maps and most PvP games use it. Basically, you can make a decent PvP map by having 3 main lanes for players to traverse, and that combat and gameplay is centered around. This is kind of the standard for PvP map design, since it's functionally the bare minimum a map needs to be in order to be engaging and feel complete to the player. The difference is, new COD maps take the 3-lane method literally, whereas older COD games use it as a framework to develop the map out of. In other words, Call of Duty maps, Black Ops 3 onwards, are just 3 lanes, a few walls, and not much else. Whereas the Golden Age CODs, think COD 4 to Black Ops 2, took the 3-lane framework and used it as a guideline, to build a map where the 3 lanes acted more like distinct entities that flowed in and out of each other and stimulated gameplay in unique ways. It feels like, with Black Ops 2 and after Black Ops 3, the mentality became, hey, make every map Nuketown, but slightly different. So in this video, I'm going to break down why the old way of making shooter maps was, and still is, the better way to do level design for shooter games. And just a heads up, I'll be referring to the shitty map design as bad lane throughout the rest of the video, so try not to get confused. First, let's take the map Radiation from Black Ops 1 versus the map Gridlock from Black Ops 4 for a side-by-side comparison, just so we're all on the same page. The map Radiation has 4 vantage points, 1 on each side, that can see about 1/3 of the map each. A plethora of buildings along the edges and in the middle of the map, and lots of small cover throughout the exposed middle. A building on the top that kind of functions as its own sub-map, with an overhead flanking route and cover throughout the complex.
Friendly RCXD inbound.
An underground section that runs under the middle lane, that is accessible from both spawns in the middle area, and plenty of side alleys and crawl spaces scattered throughout the map. As you can see, there is a lot to this map, yet when playing it, it's not overwhelming. Every playstyle, weapon, item, and killstreak has a place for it to shine, and the map as a whole feels well blended together. No area exists within a vacuum. However, on the Black Ops 4 map Gridlock,
We've taken control.
there's 2 vantage points opposite each other overlooking the middle section of the middle lane. The bottom lane has an indoors bathhouse that offers some close quarters combat, and the top lane is similar mid-range combat to the middle lane, with a few cars in it as cover, and this building in the top left having a vantage point over the lane. The map has 2 alleys connecting the middle lane to the top and bottom lanes, 1 on each side, and that's about it. It might sound similar, but when you see it and when you play it, you'll realize that Gridlock is a lot more compact and has less options for play. The lack of alternate routes on this map make it hard to flank, avoid hotspots and toxic players, or just get back into the fight. There is decent overhead cover in some parts, but the scale of the map allows killstreaks to still dominate when they're in play. Hopefully these 2 maps demonstrate what I'm trying to show you. And by the way, I didn't cherry pick the best and worst examples from each. Every map in Black Ops 1 exhibits this degree of design depth. I even went through maps on the original Modern Warfare 2 and 3 and saw the same thing. Likewise, all the base game maps in Black Ops 4 are like Gridlock. Just 3 straight lines, a sniper window in the middle, and an alley or 2. That's it. So, now that you've seen a side-by-side comparison of an older map versus a more current one, I would like to explain in depth why the old school way is the best. One thing that Golden Age COD maps ensured in their design is that any playstyle the game allows is viable on any map. Meaning that if you like to run and gun, take things slow, play hyper-tactically, or defend a certain spot, whether you use a shotgun, assault rifle, SMG, LMG, sniper, pistol, or knife only, you can do well on any map. Granted, each map is different, and thus different maps will favor different playstyles more or less than others. But overall, there's still routes you can take and areas to play in within that map for however you like to play. There are long-range sightlines for snipers, close quarters indoors for shotguns and SMGs, medium-range lanes with plenty of cover for assault rifles and LMGs, and everything in between. These maps are laid out in such a way that action can be concentrated in any location and thus be lessened in others organically in the game. There's always alternate routes to go down if you want to avoid certain areas, flank, retreat, or regroup, and you don't have to stay in one area of the map to play what feels comfortable to you. Whereas, in the bad lane style of map, if you're not using an AR or an SMG, you're screwed. Most lanes on most maps are designed for short to mid-range combat, and overall there's less cover, alternate routes, and unusual geometry. This is typically why the person or the team that holds the building in the middle, or that can see most of the map, wins. Because everyone has to funnel through there sooner or later, and given the scale, it's too easy for players to come find you and spawn. Side note, this may be part of the reason why assault rifles and SMGs end up being the OP meta weapons in this type of COD. Additionally, because of this map design, I believe more toxic playstyles like camping are worse in these games. Don't get me wrong, it's still annoying as hell in old COD, but it was just that. Annoying. In the bad lane CODs, a sweaty player or corner camper ranges anywhere from annoying to ruining the game entirely. This is because with the hardcore 3-lane approach, there is just less map to go around. So where you could ignore the area with the camper or flank them in older Call of Duty, it's a lot harder, sometimes impossible to do it in post-Black Ops 3 CODs. Golden Age COD maps are designed to facilitate all the game modes the game has to offer. Some maps are geared towards certain game modes more than others, but at the end of the day, each map is good for any game mode. These games even explain what the map is good for in the map selection, both for game modes and playstyles. Bad lane CODs, at least the Treyarch ones, don't do this. Instead they give a description of the map thematically, likely because each map is fundamentally the same, and current gen COD games don't do this at all. While this makes it seem like certain maps are only good for certain game modes, this isn't the case. On the contrary, because each map is unique in its design, so is each game mode played on each map. Nuketown matches are typically fast-paced and hectic because it's a small map, while array matches are typically slower and more tactical because it's a large map. As such, each game mode plays similar to what the map encourages, but despite this, you can still have slow games on Nuketown and fast games on array. While a specific map encourages some things over others, it will ultimately facilitate all ways of play in its own unique way. This map variation is ultimately good for the health of the game. When every map is structured the same, it plays the same, and it feels the same, which makes the game boring. Bad lane CODs seem to be geared for team deathmatch, and esports team deathmatch at that. Despite this, in my experience at least, team deathmatch is always boring in these games. It always plays slow, which is ironic given the map is meant for fast-paced action. Likewise, every objective game mode devolves into team deathmatch anyways, because the map is laid out like a highway for players to crash into each other. Another side note, Hardpoint is one of my favorite game modes of all time, and it's really disheartening that old school CODs don't have bots for all game modes, or in general, and don't have Hardpoint as a game mode. Hardpoint would be legendary on these maps. Every map from this era of COD has a good amount of overhead cover, and an abundance of traversal routes that allow players to avoid enemy killstreaks in play, while simultaneously using killstreaks to shape the flow of the game. Additionally, the amount of cover is different per map, so the viability of specific killstreaks changes as well. Aerial killstreaks, like the attack chopper or Harrier, aren't as effective on maps like Hanoi or Terminal, where much of it is indoors. However, there are still affordances by the map, such as skylights in the ceiling, to allow killstreaks of this caliber to still be usable while giving players some breathing room. Some maps in Black Ops 1 go as far as including ducts for the RCXD to travel through, making finding opponents faster and this low-level killstreak more effective. Likewise, there's still cover and safe areas from all killstreaks, including the most deadly. These are places like elevated positions where attack dogs can't reach you in Black Ops 1. and plenty of hard cover from things like the AC-130 or Chopper Gunner, along with some open spaces around the spawns for SAM turrets to take aim and care packages to come in.
Friendly sentry gun on the way.
In the bad lane style of COD, all maps are essentially the same in terms of construction and cover density, and they feature a lot less than the Golden Age CODs. In old school COD, autonomous killstreaks would only affect a portion of the map. In a current Call of Duty, a sentry gun can dominate the whole lane and an attack chop for the whole map, never mind the destructive power of higher level killstreaks. It also doesn't help that killstreaks in more recent CODs are designed to be busted win cons instead of a reward that briefly changes the flow of the game, but that's a topic for a different video. Older COD maps are based on areas from the campaign. In COD 4's case, some multiplayer maps are directly from the campaign. This builds a cohesive fictional world in a way. As a kid, I always saw multiplayer matches in Black Ops or Modern Warfare as battles NPCs were fighting in the campaign. Like, this game of team deathmatch I'm playing in multiplayer was happening on the sidelines or somewhere else, while Soap and Price were out saving the world. New COD maps are in some random place, and that's really the end of it. Some of them are thematically based off campaign areas, yeah, but in these cases I find the actual campaign area to be better, both in level design and aesthetics. Additionally, I notice newer game maps tend to feel disconnected from the greater world. The surrounding environment seems so distant, whereas old school maps put you in the heart of combat, closely surrounded by buildings or landscape as if in real life. Also, there's just less map effects in newer CODs. There's no window panes to break, no explosive barrels or cars to blow up, and no little other stuffs that explode into a cloud of paper, sparks, or dirt when shot. Now, I know this point isn't the most important, but I digress. A consistent narrative in a fictional world builds a better sense of place, and at the end of the day, these maps are places we inhabit, even if it's just for 10 minutes of TDM. It's the little things that count. Now, by this point, you'll probably agree with me that the old school way of making COD maps is superior than the current. However, I will say that the bad lane style of map isn't without merit. This style of map should be geared towards fast-paced, in-your-face combat, and I think it shows the shift Call of Duty underwent towards focusing on the competitive esports side of the franchise more heavily. Also, this map design philosophy may have been more appropriate for the sci-fi advanced movement CODs, but ultimately, I still think the old map design is best, for all the reasons previously covered. While it worked for Black Ops 2, and in theory should make games more hectic, which most COD players seem to like, the reality has shown that people play a lot more passively on these maps. Of which I believe this is largely to do with the map design being so basic and boring. There's just less map to go around. It's more dangerous to move around, so why move at all? Likewise, I wager esports games were and would be so much more interesting in the old school style of map, because there's so many more elements at play in just the map alone. I mean, look at these clips from Black Ops 4 versus the original Modern Warfare 2. The gameplay speaks for itself.
Back profit. Talk backed.
I hope everyone who's watched this far now sees the difference in the way COD maps are structured, and thus its role in changing the way we as players engage with the game. Everything I talked about is what makes old maps so much richer to play in and to be in. They feel like real places because of this design philosophy that I can only describe as thoughtful. It took a lot of thought, planning, and testing to make these maps as great as they are, and I appreciate it so much more having played the alternative for the past however many years. Now, there are some good examples in new COD, like Artifact and Lockup in Black Ops 4, but that's because, at least from what the map shows me, they are designed with the older, better mentality. Probably because it's DLC. Also, while I exclusively talked about Call of Duty in this video, these map design principles extend to other shooter games, and other games too. While it varies case by case, as different games will focus on different game mechanics and playstyles, the general principle still remains. A good map should have a lot of map to it. A very stupid way I could sum up this comparison is, current gen maps are like a square, Golden Age maps are like a tesseract. Even if they both occupy the same space, there is still so much depth and detail in the old school maps that is so fascinating to explore. For this section, I'd like to summarize some of the key points of this video for any level designers out there who may need it. First of all, I want to reiterate that the 3-lane PvP map philosophy should be used as a framework for building interesting maps out of, not to literally draw out 3 traversal lanes and put some buildings and alleys between each. Honestly, a good map using this approach shouldn't have 3 obvious lanes visible from the map overview or map spawns. Anyways, don't think the 3-lane is the be-all end-all. Actually flesh out your levels and diversify them with over and under sections, inside and outside areas, flanking routes, vantage points, obstructions, blocked lanes, divergences, and non-straight lanes. Second, it may be useful to look at level design through multiple lenses. For example, for all the good maps I've shown in this video, you can see them as designed around zones instead of lanes. Each zone acts as its own micro-map, if you will, acting as a convergence point for combat, and are the hotspots where most of the action will gravitate towards. The lanes can be seen as the neutral space that connects multiple zones in a map. Feel free to mix and match different philosophies in the same game or project, or even on the same level. Third, try modeling your in-game levels after real places. What I'm saying is ditch the 3-lane structure or any level design philosophy, and just make it like how it exists in real life. Obviously, this would be difficult, as having access to an Arctic research base or uranium mine isn't exactly something everyone has. And you'll have to use your game design intuition to adjust the layout so it works for a video game. But designing a map based on the real counterpart, or what you think the real counterpart may be, then adjusting it for a game may be a viable option. I certainly feel like the map Rust from Modern Warfare 2 was made this way. Lastly, and this one should go without saying, but feel free to experiment. I'd say level design and design of all types is both a science and an art form, so have fun with it, try something new. Make something super unconventional that breaks all the rules, and it just might work out. Just be sure to test it once it's done. You wouldn't want to release a game with shitty maps in it after all. For all the players out there, if, like me, you played a lot of shooters, from the golden age to the current crop and everything in between, and you've been feeling like they don't hit right, they don't hit like they used to, you're right, they don't. There are other reasons for this besides maps, of course, but the fact is that environment shapes culture. The digital environments we play in shape the way we play, just as the real-world environments shape how we behave in the real world. Newer CODs aren't designed for everyone. They're designed for sweaty esports tryhards or just lazily thrown together, and the maps show this. If nothing else, the fact that most of the maps in the newer MW3 are from the original MW2 should prove my point. Like, they just gave up with this one. For the game developers out there, and I'm talking to indie devs and future devs, I know AAA won't listen. Don't make this crap! Yes, the basic 3-lane method provides an easy framework to use, but in my experience, if you want to make a game good, you need to put in the extra effort. Whether you like it or not, there's no easy way around it. Which in this case means spending a lot more time and energy fleshing out game levels than you may otherwise want to. But I'm not trying to make future game devs feel bad, because a lot of you will be growing up playing games with these inferior maps, and won't have a frame of reference of what a good map can be. So I hope this video acts as that frame of reference. I hope you use this video as inspiration, or a reference to make better maps and thus make better games. Honestly, I never thought of myself as much of a level designer, but going back through these older COD games, just to walk around the map or play with the bots, really made me appreciate how much thought went into this. Like, I played so much Call of Duty as a kid, and I admired the small details in the map, but never did I think about how the structure of the map itself made the game so much fun. So, if you're a player frustrated with the way current games are, and or a developer who just can't figure out how this map you're working on will come together, maybe all you need to do is to boot up a favorite game from your childhood, and take a little walk down memory lane.